Hi Quilty friends, I'm Belle from Seam Sew Me, and today we are going to learn how to make these fun hexies in the 1.5 inch size and the 1 inch size. This is actually part of a tutorial series that I'm doing with Maud, the retro quilter, as part of our Hexie Upcycle challenge. And so in this particular part 1 video, I'm going to show you how to cut your fabrics for both of these, how to use paper templates as well as leave-in stabilizer templates that you actually cut with your AccuQuilt system. And we'll also learn how to glue baste rather than thread baste these. It'll be super fun. Then there's a part 2, and I'm going to show you how to applique these down to things that you might really enjoy using. And as part of the upcycle challenge, you'll be actually putting them on fabric you already have or possible upcycle items that you already have. So let's get started and learn how to make these fun hexies. Well, let's get started and learn how we actually make these beautiful hexies. So here's some examples of 1 inch hexies that have been sewn together to make this size flower. Then we also have 1.5 inch hexies that have been sewn together. And then this is a beautiful one in which there are a lot of 1 inch hexies that have been sewn together to make an even larger hexie block. So let's get started, and first off we're going to start with talking about how do we cut our fabrics to be able to make these. Let's first talk about the items that you'll need to be able to make hexies. So some of these things are optional, and then some of them at a bare minimum you will need. Now there are several options for you depending on if you choose to use the PDF download that we have provided as part of this upcycle challenge. You can use the PDF download to actually cut out your templates, your paper templates that you'll use for the EPP hexies, and also the templates that you would use if you decide you want to cut your fabric in the hexie shape rather than using square pieces of fabric. So you do have options. We definitely like to give options for sure. So I'm going to explain a few things to you about these products. Again, they're linked below, and I'll also let you know which ones are optional. There also will be links to other tutorials that I have that will explain some of the one of the products here, which is the Tack It Easy, and then also an option on how to make your own leave-in stabilizer that you use for your hexies. There's a whole separate tutorial on that, and I'll link that for you below. So what you'll need first off is a glue pen. You're going to learn glue basting for hexies. So we will not be hand basting our hexies like some people do. I personally like this because it's faster. So this is Quilter Select. I also use Sew Line. You can get those online, the Sew Line, easily. I'll put a link below for you. The Quilter Select you have to get from a local quilt shop that actually carries this brand. You'll need a rotary cutter. This is my Havel's 28mm rotary cutter, but you could use a 45mm if you'd like. You're going to need some type of, this is the purple thing, and this is really handy if you don't have this little tool. I'll put a link for you on it. You'll need this when it comes to time to remove your papers. You could use, I have a chopstick. You could use a chopstick to do that, or a blunt pair of scissors, but something that you'll be able to get these out of the back of your hexies when you're done stitching them together. You also will either need paper EPP templates that you purchase, or you can use the templates that we've provided in this challenge. And then optional, you can use heavy stabilizer, and I have a tutorial in the link below on how to make your own leave-in stabilizer for your hexies so that you don't have to remove them like you do with the paper templates. So that also is an option for you. Lastly, what you're seeing here, this is the Tack It Easy. This is a way to be able to accurately fold smooth folds and not get glue on your fingers. This again is completely optional. Some of you may have chosen to pre-order this to use in the future. These will be coming from Australia in August. So those will come in at a later time, but you will see me use those here as an option, but you do not have to. You actually can just use your fingers. You also will want to have a ruler, because if you do choose to cut octagon shapes with an octagon ruler or with one of the templates that we've provided for you to download, you'll want to be able to have a ruler to cut your fabric. And then I have a turning rotary mat here. You could use just a regular rotary mat if you'd like. So those are the items that are involved in making the hexies. So let's get started. So we're going to make the 1.5 inch hexie first. And so what you'll need to do is, if you have downloaded the PDF and you're wanting to make your own leave-in templates, then you actually will go ahead and cut out from that PDF pattern the 1.5 inch template and trace that onto a piece of cardboard or a piece of firm cardstock. And that's what you're going to use to be able to leave inside your EPP until you pull it out later. Now, if you chose to buy these, then you'll want to just grab yours that you've purchased and you can use those. Or if you watched my tutorial on how to make your own out of firm stabilizer and your AccuQuilt system, you'll use that. So I'm first going to show it to you just by using our fingers with glue basting. So you'll just take your 3.5 by 3.5 inch square piece of fabric and your 1.5 inch paper template. You'll just line it up, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to make sure you have enough on the edges. You'll take your glue pen and you'll make a line of glue along the side. Now, there's kind of a fine line. You don't want to get too much glue because eventually when you take these papers out, it can be a little cumbersome. But you don't want to not get enough glue because then it won't stick. So you'll put a line of glue there, and then you just fold it over with your fingers. And if you're using a rotating mat, you can turn your mat, or you can just turn the hexie if you want. Put some more glue and press. Again, put some more glue and press. And you'll do that all the way around. And you can feel the paper under there. Now, you don't want to get it too tight. You want to get it taut, but not too tight, because you're going to be stitching all along the edge there. So don't make it too tight when you fold it over. Just kind of loosely do it. Now, when you get to the last fold, the best way to glue baste is to do one strip here this direction and then one strip this direction, because if you keep pulling it, you're going to pull this fabric out. And so you'll just put that there and then fold it over. Now, when I don't use the Tack It Easy and I do it this way, I get glue on my fingers sometimes. So that's why I like to use this little gadget here, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But that is how you glue baste your hexie. It's really simple. So again, don't get it too tight all the way around, but you'll either use that or you can use your leave-in, which is what I do with mine and Maud does as well. But I've also done it where you pull the papers out. Now, after this all gets stitched together in our pretty little flowers, this is where you'll be using this to pop these out at a later time. We'll show you how to do that later. So that is how you actually do the 1.5 inch using the paper template. So you'll actually take your 1.5 inch template that you've cut out, and you're going to use it as a guide, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but you'll use it as a guide to cut your fabric. And this is where you'll want to use your ruler. Some people do a 1/4 inch. I like to do close to 1/2 inch to be able to fold it over, just to make sure I have enough. So I'll use the ruler for my first cut, and I'll just trim back my fabric. Put there in place. And this does not have to be perfect, okay? Because this is going to be folded over. So then I tend to eyeball the rest of it. And this is where your rotating mat can actually be quite handy. And then I'll go ahead, just eyeball that. I'll cut a little off this. And when I do the 2.5 inch hexies, I tend to just use the 3.5 by 3.5 inch square so I can skip this step. But some people do like to have them in that shape. If you have the AccuQuilt, this is the AccuQuilt die, that is the hexie die, and it is the center hexagon on that particular die. Again, there's a link below on my whole process on how I do that if you want to cut your scrap fabrics that way. But this is how you would cut this if you want these to be the hexie shape instead of the 3.5 by 3.5 inch square. And so you'll glue baste the same way. You'll actually just put the glue and fold it over. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do it with the Tack It Easy, just so you can see. There is a full video tutorial on that I've done on my channel. But if I was to do this, I would either use my leave-in stabilizer that I've made, and I would put a dot of glue there and hold that down. This stays inside and never comes out. If you use your EPP paper templates that either you've made from the PDF download or you've purchased, I don't put glue on it because you're going to want to be pulling this out and it'll be a little harder to get out. So you'll just line that up in there, and there's some guidelines there for you. Now remember, these fold over, so these are actually going to be folding your fabric, but I want to make sure that's in there, it's even. It is. And so you do it the same way. You just take your glue stick, put some glue on there, and press. Spin it, glue it, and press. And you actually could just leave your finger in the middle if you want and do it that way. It's completely up to you if you turn the piece or if you just work your way around your finger. But the nice thing about it is you don't get glue on your fingers when you do it this way. And you get a little faster. I get a little faster after I've used it several times, and then you press. And then on your last one, again, make sure you just do glue this direction and then also go that direction so you don't pull your fabric off on the side. And that's how the Tack It Easy works. And again, it keeps me from getting glue on my fingers. So that's what that would look like if you actually cut your fabric into an octagon shape, and then you've got your cute little hexie. Now the process is the same if you're going to make the 1-inch hexies. I don't happen to have any 1-inch paper templates with me because I use the leave-in stabilizer that I make with my AccuQuilt, so that's what I'm going to use, and just pretend this is paper if you're using the paper that you've made or that you've purchased. So this is going to create this size, the 1-inch. These are 1 inch, and when I say 1 inch, you know it's 1 inch because that's what this length is here. On the 1.5 inch, this is 1.5 inches on the side. And so that's how the measurements are determined. So this is the size that the flower will be for the 1.5 inch. So same process. If you don't have the Tack It Easy, you would lay your piece of fabric down. You'll take your 1-inch paper template, put it in the middle, and then you'll take your glue stick and do the same thing. You'll take your fabric and you'll fold it over. Turn it, take your fabric, and fold it over. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put mine in my Tack It Easy so I don't get glue everywhere. And I'll line that up and fold that over. And you just press it. And this is the same process as how we did the 1.5 inch. And there you have your 1.5 inch, or your 1 inch hexies. Same thing. And here's one here as well. So that is how you glue baste all of these cute little hexies. If you've never done it before, it is faster than hand stitching or hand basting them together, and it's just enjoyable. Maud and I both enjoy doing this when we're traveling or we're on vacation, and so it's really a fun way to relax, or even if you're doing it in the living room by your couch watching TV, you now know how to glue baste your hexies.